The Acolyte, Episode 8, the finale. That is the end of the season and hopefully the whole show. I'm just so happy that we are done with this, and this is the last week that we have to sit and watch this. So the Acolyte, Episode 8, it's really, honestly, it's just like another one of the whatever episodes, just like the other ones of like, you know, episode 6 and 5 and all that stuff. It's just like another chunk of a story that makes no sense, and it's just kind of all over the place, and it ends with things unanswered and things, it's all over the place, and it doesn't make sense, especially with the main characters of this show, Osha and May. We do get some big stuff in this one that's gonna have some people all like, ooh, they're putting this character in Star Wars now, and we get to see them again. It doesn't fix the bad writing of what this show is, and I'm just ready for it to be done. Last week was probably the worst episode of the season. I still think it is after this one too. I think last week was just terrible. It was literally the worst episode of the season. I hated it. But then we actually get to pick up with the real story of what's actually going on here. And Osha was left putting Quimir's helmet on at the end of episode 6. We're like, whoa, what's going on there? Well, apparently Osha is just on her journey to the dark side now. Because, you know, she saw this dude naked and suddenly she's ready to turn to the dark side and join his Sith cult or whatever. That's really, really weird. So we get the scene of Quimir walking up to Osha and touching the helmet and like trying to almost get it off of her. Like some weird dark side stuff happens to her and his eyes go all black and she's like stuck in the helmet or something. And then he pulls it oshe said that she saw the future and she saw May killing Soul. And then she's also saying, oh, but I can still stop her. You know, I'm still a good person. I can go and stop her from doing that. So that's what they did there at the beginning, but there's only one ship. So what will happen there? We cut to May and Soul on the ship. And as Soul is trying to talk to May and convince her that, you know, he did the right thing and he didn't do anything wrong, whatever else, she escapes with the little droid and zaps him down and takes control of the ship. And then she escapes on like an extra ship that she left with the main ship. So she left with a smaller ship and entered this asteroid belt here of a planet, Brendok. I believe they're actually at Brendok. She enters the asteroid belt of it and tries to escape from Soul. And as Soul is literally chasing her down because he gets up right away, he wasn't really knocked out. He takes control of the ship, starts chasing her. There's this space, chase scene there. And this little, beaver thing that's been running around the last, half the season, I suppose now. He's, flip-flopping just as much as May, I suppose. Because now, I don't know, tell me if I missed something. Why is this little beaver creature suddenly, helping May? So as Soul is chasing down May to go get her, this little beaver thing pulls some wires in the ship with Soul, and it, messes up Soul's ship, and it stops him from getting May. Why is this little beaver creature thing sabotaging Soul now? I don't understand what that's about, but they use him even more a little bit later too to track down Osha and May and whatnot again. This little creature thing is just everywhere. He's just doing everything. So we do get a scene with the green bald-headed bitch who is now trying to cover up everything to the Jedi, and she doesn't want to tell the Jedi what happened really, and she's trying to cover up all this weird stuff that's been going on with Jedi dying and this Sith now apparently out there. We cut to her in Coruscant, and she starts to talk to the senator guy. All right, it's a Jedi. It's not a Jedi. You can have his own feelings towards the Jedi. It's not too crazy that there's people out there who just don't like the Jedi. But I feel like it was just another scene to reinforce to you that, yeah, the Jedi, the people making this show, the Jedi, yeah, you know what? We know they're the good guys in Star Wars, and I don't think they're gonna really stray away from that totally. But they want to reinforce you again in your mind again that the Jedi, yeah, they're not the good guys though. They're flawed. The Jedi are flawed. They are flawed. But I feel like this show in particular has tried to reinforce over and over that the Jedi are the bad guys. They're not the good guys. They're the good guys. The Jedi are the good guys. The Sith and the dark side are the bad guys. Pretty freaking simple. That's how it was laid out for so long. Now we gotta be all cryptic, and the Jedi, they're so flawed, and they've done evil things too, and it's getting old. So this guy's like, oh, the Jedi are a massive system of unchecked power. posing as religion, as he says. A delusional cult that claims to control the uncontrollable. So I'm glad this guy came in out of nowhere to reinforce once again that the Jedi are just the bad guys, and now they're doing this cover-up and all that shit. So Osha and Cremere are now buddies, I suppose, and they're going to go jump on the ship together towards Brendok, and they're going to go figure out stuff. I don't know. So they're going to get off the planet together, and now they're just pals. You know, why not? Let's just be pals, even though you just killed all my friends and you said you're a Sith. You know, no big deal though. So as Osha and Cremere leave, we do see a shadowy figure hiding in the rocks, and I would assume the same place. It looks like the same place where Cremere and Osha were. In the shadows, you get to see this shadowy figure. And yes, that is Darth Plagueis. There's no doubt that that's who that's supposed to be. I don't think we've seen him in any media before, like actual, like on-screen media. I have not read the Darth Plagueis novel. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I have. I have not read that novel. But I do know that this show alone has already, I've heard from multiple people who have read the books and know the story of Plagueis, that this show kind of contradicts where this story with Plagueis fits. And Darth Plagueis is, for some reason, just there, creeping and watching Osha and Cremere. Do they know he's there? Did Cremere know this guy's there? Did he know he's there and watching them? Or are they going to try to now tie him into the story? This is how Darth Plagueis is going to jump into the story here on screen for the first time. They're going to interject his story now with this random new Sith Lord guy who's talking with Osha. Like, what are they doing? I don't know what they're doing. But one thing I can for sure say is I do not trust Disney or Leslye Headland, to be precise there, Leslye Headland in particular, to do anything with a character like this. I know this is a very popular character, and I know damn well that Disney can fuck this whole thing up. So if they, for some reason, get a season 2 of this atrocious show, I think they're going to do extensive damage to yet another character and era of Star Wars in general. And I don't know where he fits in this, because, I mean, is he the master? Is he the master to Cremere? Or is Cremere not even aware of him to begin with? Is this like the real Sith and Cremere's not really a Sith to begin with? I don't really know. If there's anything in the books that would kind of make sense to what's going on here, again, I don't know. I probably should read that book, even though it's not Disney canon. I probably should check it out, because now they're going to dive in and throw him in there, and honestly probably take from those, because they really like to take from the EU of Disney for Disney Star Wars, because they have no original ideas and they just kind of take from the stuff that they got rid of to begin with, which is really funny. So we'll see what they do with that going forward, because honestly with Disney Star Wars, I could just see them doing another season, even though it seems like this show is the lowest rated and the lowest viewed show they've had so far on Disney Plus for Star Wars. They will still somehow do a season 2, just because, just to throw it in our face that, like, yeah, we don't give a fuck, we're gonna fuck with it more, we'll do more, we'll mess with Star Wars a little more and give you stuff you don't want. So we'll see what happens. I mean, from what I can tell, he looks like Darth Plagueis, and we'll see what they do, I guess. So Sol and May are now on Brendok, and you can see the wrecked, building that the witches used to live in. They're back home there, and he's trying to find May. At the same time, Cremere and Osha have now arrived, and they are trying to enter the palace or the building. And then Cremere does like this vanishing act. Poof, he disappears, and he's off to go do his own thing. That was kind of a little scene there, and Osha still has to try and get her way into the controls. Master Sol revisits his past, where he completely messed up and just didn't lift the 2 children up from the bridge and save them both. Instead, he, messed that up and only saved Osha. And then he gets confronted by the stranger, which all the captions I do keep on, but they keep labeling him as the stranger, even though we know exactly who he is already. But Cremere confronts Sol, and if I gotta give the episode one thing, besides the one really weird, awkward, slow-mo moment during the fight between Cremere and Sol, where they like jump off this bridge area, where it's a really awkward really weird, awkward slow-mo scene. It's like, I don't know if it's slow-mo or it almost looks like they're just being pulled down by some wires, and it didn't look natural in any way. Even in a slow-mo scene, it looked very, very strange and weird. Outside of that, I think the fight was okay. I think it was fine. I think it was probably my favorite part of the episode. I'm ignoring the story there. I'm ignoring who the characters are and what they're not doing or not doing in the show. Watching the fight alone, I think it was fine. I think it was probably the most interesting part of the episode, most entertaining part for that bit of the episode there. So Soul and Cremere, if I have to give a positive, I did not mind the fight. So they do fight a little bit. Osha and May confront each other once again, and now May is going to try and tell Osha that, oh, guess what? Soul is really the one who killed our mother. And I'm not the one who did it. I started a fire, but Soul is the one who killed our mother. So now you need to turn against him and be bad against him. They do this weird little fight scene with some weird music in the background again, and they just kind of punch each other for a little bit. I don't really care. We'll get to the next scene later. So Master Soul and Cremere are fighting still. Again, I do kind of like the scene. I think it's all right. Master Soul beats Cremere. I don't know if you really let him or not. He kind of like sliced his lightsabers. He takes his helmet off and in defeat, and Master Soul wins. But then May comes out and like kind of fights him a little bit, takes his lightsaber, and then gets him to confess that he did indeed kill their mother, which they knew already. And of course, who's watching in the distance? It's Osha, who walks out, and Soul tries to talk to Osha like, oh, I had to, I had no choice, and I was trying to save you. And it's like, we, as the audience, know he did nothing wrong, okay? Their mother turned into a demonic, evil being, creature with her eyes black, her teeth all sharp, turning in this dark, creepy, evil smoke mist. You really think he's just gonna not attack her? So he's justified. He is 100% justified to attack her and kill her, I think. But that doesn't matter for where we're at now. Osha is now suddenly just dark and evil. She's just evil. She's turning to the dark side. They got her wearing darker clothes now. She's walking around with Cremere. She's now buddies with Cremere. So she starts to put her hand out and force choke him because, Darth Vader likes to do that too. So let's do it again. Remember this in Star Wars? So she starts to choke Master Soul. She's holding Soul's lightsaber, and as she's holding Soul's lightsaber, I do like some of the visuals in this episode. They're okay. They're kind of cool. Some of them don't make sense, but they're interesting choices. You got the lightsaber crystal like bleeding into red, as Osha starts to turn dark and evil. And I don't think it was like a terrible thing, but at that point, like, okay, the crystal's red now. It shouldn't ignite as blue anymore. But we'll get to that. So Osha is, force choking Master Soul, and he dies. R.I.P. Master Soul. You went out like a wuss. Whatever it is, what it is. That was the last one that needed to die on the original 4, if you remember. But of course, May is a flip-flop character that makes no sense. So now she's evil, good, evil, good. Remember when May wanted to turn herself into the Jedi and confess to the Jedi and, talk to the Jedi? That existed for like a moment, and then she flip-flopped again, and now she's against the Jedi, and now she's almost looking like the good guy again because Osha's turning so evil. These characters don't make any sense at all. And it doesn't help with the acting and the expressions of Amandla Stenberg. She can either give her stern nothing face, or she can cry a little bit. That's about it. There's no acting going on. I just don't think the acting is great. So as she ignites Soul's lightsaber towards Cremere, it ignites as blue, and then it starts to fade over to red. It's kind of an interesting visual. I'm not gonna deny it. It is an interesting visual. I don't think it would have worked that way. I think it should have just ignited red by then. If it's gonna get bled into red, the crystal, it should be red. I don't know why it's still changing over. I don't think it really works that way. But it's really the least of my problems for this show. So, whatever. They do a little visual thing with the lightsaber turning all red to make it look like, holy shit, Osha is all evil and dark side now. She's in dark clothing, and May's just standing over there like, whoa. So, as the green bald bitch comes down to investigate what's going on with Master Soul, we had a weird scene with Crumir sensing her coming upon the planet. And her and him have this force sensing where she's like, you're alive. It's you. So that kind of confirms that she was the master to Crumir before he went dark and evil. So it would explain the lashes on his back and why her lightsaber whip would have done that, even though you think the lightsaber whip would have just cut him into pieces if it's a lightsaber whip. But whatever. So she was the cause of the lightsaber whip marks, I would assume, on his back. And that's what they're doing there. So she is his former master, I suppose. So she is there now to investigate. She comes in, she sees Master Soul dead, and she also does sense that Crumir is over there kind of watching her. She kind of like looks over Master Soul for a moment, really weirdly, and we'll kind of get an understanding of what's about to happen with her and what she does with Soul later on, which is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, we'll get to it. So we get to see the one of two emotions of Amandla Stenberg as the two twins run off and just kind of rejoice that they're together again. And now they're not really with the Jedi anymore. They're just kind of together again, finally. Remember May killing like a bunch of Jedi Masters and stuff? That doesn't matter anymore. You know, Osha has now just killed a Jedi Master. They're just a bunch of fucked up twins. So they're just crying together. They're so happy. Crumir finds them and says, if I can find you, so can the Jedi. Osha officially wants to join as Crumir's apprentice or dark side apprentice now. So suddenly, you know, Osha's just all in on this Crumir stuff, and she wants to be buddies and train with him and be in the dark side just because she put his helmet on one day, I guess. So she wants to go with him, and that leaves May. May's just standing there, you know. Obviously she's doesn't look like she's going to be the apprentice to Crumir anymore, or the stranger, Smilo Ren. So he says that I can wipe her memory. I could just do it because I am strong in the Force. I can just wave my hand a little bit and her memory will be gone. So as they're hugging, Crumir waves his hand up in the air a little bit, and May apparently forgets the last 16 years or whatever. And it goes back to her when she was 8. So she's only got memories up to until she was 8 years old. And she still knows Osha and stuff, but now she's now unaware of Crumir and him and what Osha is now doing and turn to the dark side, so she's not going to know about them and what they're doing, and they leave, and the Jedi confront May and take her in. She's like, what did I do? Because I don't know. I lost my mind. I lost my memory because of Smilo Ren. So we do get a scene of green bald lady talking to May, and she is the real villain of this show, to be honest. It's very, very strange. It almost seems like she's trying to protect her former apprentice in a weird way. She wants to go find him herself. That's just the thing I'm guessing at this point. She's trying to significantly cover up what happened with the Jedi and Soul and all that. She's trying to cover up everything that Crumir has been doing, and that there is an apparent Sith going around. So she starts to talk to May about, oh, this is the man who killed your mother. You know, it's Soul, Master Soul. It was a former Jedi. And he was a kind, brilliant, compassionate man. And it was her friend. And he did a terrible thing because their mother turned into an evil demonic witch with crazy dark eyes and, you know, sharp teeth and dark evil smoke. But he did a terrible, terrible thing by killing her because it looked like she was attacking them. So it does cut into a scene of her explaining to the Jedi, and everyone this is the story that she's now going to tell. Afterwards, the Jedi conspired to keep their actions secret, and a rogue Jedi named Soul killed his accomplices to maintain the cover story. So the story that she's going to go with is that Master Soul is the one who killed all the different Jedi that we've seen die in this show, in the present current story. So all the Jedi, Yord and that other Padawan chick, they all got killed, and everyone by Master Soul. He just killed them all because he's a rogue Jedi who wanted to cover up what he did to the witches. Because the witches, they didn't do anything bad. So they call it the work of one flawed man. And she says that Master Soul took his own life. That's what I found him. I found him dead and he took his own life. But then they cut to a scene of her burying Master Soul's body, presumably in a lake. and he's just gone now, and she's covering up his death and who killed him. I don't know if she really knows who killed him or not, but she saw him dead. She doesn't know exactly how it happened, but she burns his body and covers it up. So these Jedi are just so evil. They're just the bad guys, man. She is the worst one of this whole show. And she goes to May and says, I want your help. I want your help to go and find this old pupil of mine that turned to evil, and that would be Cremere. So they're setting up plot lines for another season, which I desperately hope doesn't happen. I literally do not want to see this woman on screen again. I cannot take her seriously at all, and she's just an evil bitch. She really is. She's just the worst one of the show. You think Cremere's the bad guy, right? But I don't know, man. I just feel like the real villain of the show is her. So that's the last scene we get with her talking to May. Then we cut to another really weird scene with Cremere and Osha. They're just, I don't know, lovers now. And they cut to them looking out at the sunset, and they're wearing their dark cloaks, and she's got her hood over her head, and they're looking at the sunset on their island, and they're all in dark, and they're going to become the evil Sith or whatever they're going to do. And that is how their story wraps up for this season. So after that scene, we got our one last scene of Master Yoda. So the green bald-headed lady confronts Master Yoda finally. It was kind of teased through the episode that she was going to finally talk to Master Yoda. And presumably she will just tell Yoda about her cover-up plan and what happened. My question is, how did Yoda just not sense that Jedi were dying to begin with and not go and maybe investigate this shit himself? How is he just now being told about all this? This is not how it should have gone. And also, we still have Chaotic Mundi out there who knows about this stuff too. And you have other people out there knowing that Jedi. I just don't believe the cover-up story thing. I really don't. It's very weak. It just doesn't work for me. It just doesn't seem believable. And now we got our little Yoda cameo. So if they desperately want to do a season 2 and they somehow give Leslye Headland another $180 million to tell a mediocre story, I'm assuming we will see more of Darth Plagueis and her vision, and we will see Master Yoda as a puppet, which they should just do the CGI Yoda, but as a puppet Yoda, we will see him again, and they probably mess him up some more, mess up the story of Darth Plagueis, and just mess with Star Wars more. That's how I feel about The Acolyte Season 1. It doesn't make any sense, and they only messed things up. That's really the end result of this show. I don't see how in a normal world, I don't think this show would ever get a season 2, because it does seem that this show is the worst received show. And it doesn't seem like the ratings are too high either. I don't know how this show would get a season 2. Normally it wouldn't. But because of what Disney Star Wars is, this is what Kathleen Kennedy wants Star Wars to be. This is what she wants it to be. This is her Star Wars. This is what she wants this brand to now be. We got to move away from George's vision. It's now whatever the hell they want it to be. And this is what it's going to be. This is what Star Wars is now. This is Disney Star Wars. So I can see it easily getting a season 2. Honestly, I really can. And if it doesn't, I actually will be surprised if it doesn't. It shouldn't. I don't think it should. And again, in a normal world, it most likely never would. But this is the world of Disney Star Wars and Kathleen Kennedy, and I just think they will do it. I just think they're going to do it. This show makes no sense whatsoever. The characters of Osha and May are terrible. I got confused on who was who through a lot of watching this show because of how flip-floppy each of the characters are. They didn't make it concrete and clear on what their intentions and their motives were and why they flip-flopped to the dark side or the light side. And I don't know what the hell the character of May even is. And now Osha is just all bad and evil because May told her that, Soul is so evil and dark, and he killed their mother, so now I'm just gonna become the dark side as well. So I just don't get it. Like, what character would we follow in a season 2 in the good side? Would it be this green bald-headed lady with Yoda now and stuff? I mean, they killed all the Jedi. Like, they're all freaking dead now that we were following. So I don't know, man. I don't feel much towards this show. I'm not angry. It's almost just funny at this point. It is incredibly humorous how bad this was. Episodes 3 and 7 were certainly the worst of this show. I cannot express that enough. 7 was terrible. But the main general story, outside of the flashback stuff, also just was so all over the place. And it was so quick, and pacing was weird. And it just, I I don't understand what the purpose of it was. So that's the Acolyte. I hope this is the last Acolyte review I am making. I hope they don't bring this back. I don't think Disney Star Wars is going to get any better anytime soon. I think we're in the long haul of just bad Star Wars for a long while now. And maybe one day, something will be flipped. Something will change. Things will be fixed in some possible way. I don't know how. But right now, Disney Star Wars is this. And you can either just not take it. This is not Star Wars to you. Or you enjoy it. And you enjoy the falling franchise. You can go ahead and enjoy this failing franchise. And if you like it, you like it. I don't. I think it's silly. I think it makes no sense. I think it's just dumb. And I'm going to go back to watching George's Star Wars and maybe jumping into some extended universe legends, as Disney likes to call it now, because I'm not getting any good stories here anymore. I haven't for a while, and that's just how it is. So that's the Acolyte Season 1. We'll see if a Season 2 happens, but I really hope it doesn't.